What is going on, people of YouTube? My name's Npo Kurtyoy and welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be discussing my BPL and FPL Premier League predictions. Now this is a bit of an interesting one because we're going to be going over a bit more than we usually do my last year's predictions, which aren't too good, probably the worst season so far. Some FPL predictions in terms of point scorers, goals, assists, that sort of thing, and this season's predictions. So let's kick things straight off as I'm cut for time a bit with my last season's predictions. So here they are on the screen. Yeah, not the best at all really. It was a poor time. I got two spot on, Man United and Spurs, one that was one away in Everton, then I got Liverpool, Arsenal, West Ham and Stoke, two away. And then the rest were three or more away, so it's not the best. I've got Man City dreadfully wrong, Chelsea dreadfully wrong. You're looking at West Brom, I don't think anyone would have seen them going down. Stoke I had, as a close call, and so I'm not too surprised they went down. Southampton didn't expect to be that low, and you got teams I didn't expect to be that high. Burnley was one, Leicester was one, Newcastle was one, Palace was one. So all in all, interesting time. Not the best, but hopefully this season, fingers crossed, will be a bit better. Before we kick off into that, let's take a look at some FPL predictions, and I've got them in the bottom corner. I've got most goals going to Kane. I feel like he's a goal scorer. He might miss the first few games of the season, but there's no European or World Cup to look forward to at the end of the year, so he doesn't need to worry about that and not burning himself out. So Kane will get the most goals. Most assists, it's one I've debated about, but I see Christian Eriksen having a good time, dominating the Spurs midfield, and I do think it is about time he kicks off into gear and has a really good season, like he should. Most clean sheets have gone with new boy Kepa. I feel like Chelsea were poor last season, but they've improved. They've signed a few decent players, potentially needed a few more, maybe a striker, maybe a centre back. Who knows, but I feel like Maurizio Sarri will bring it back, and ignoring the Community Shield, which was poor, I feel like Kepa could get the most clean sheets. And for most points, I've got goalkeepers Fabianski. He's a massive safety goalkeeper in a decent looking West Ham side. I do think Fabianski will get most points just because of the saves he'll get ahead of a team like and a goalkeeper like Kepa. He got most points in defence. Azpilicueta, playing him right back, potential to get more attacking returns. I do feel like with the clean sheets he'll get, Azpilicueta's a sure thing to get one of the highest points totals this year. Midfield, Eriksen hopefully gets the most assists, a couple of goals in there too, should mean he's right up there with the best. And attacking most points, Aubameyang, because I do feel like Kane will be up there close, and I'll put Aubameyang as most points because I feel like he can contribute to more assists, so that way he gets more points. Maybe not as many goals, but can get like a lot more assists than a typical poacher in Kane. So Aubameyang for me will get the most points in attack. So let's kick off my Premier League predictions with the three teams I think are going down, and that's Cardiff in last, Southampton in 19th, and Newcastle in 18th. Cardiff, I just don't feel like they've strengthened enough, and I'm not the biggest fan of Neil Warnock, but he does a good job wherever he goes. I just feel like they haven't strengthened enough in the right areas with Premier League proven talent. That's one thing I'm always harping on about, so I kind of think I'm going to go down. Southampton left it very close last year before they managed to stay up, and I do feel like this year they have made a few decent signings, but I just can't see Mark Hughes doing it. I think Mark Hughes had a poor season last season, and that proved he's going to be a bit of a dinosaur in terms of management terms, so he's also going to be sitting a team down. And Newcastle in 18th because they are in a bit of turmoil everywhere, haven't made very many signings at all, and I think Newcastle could be in a bit of trouble this season. So let's look at the next three teams. We've got Brighton in 17th, Watford in 16th, and Huddersfield in 15th. I think you know who's above Huddersfield now. Brighton, I do feel like they are lacking in a couple of areas, but they also, I do think, just about have enough. Same with Watford and the same with Huddersfield. It's going to be very tight down there this season, I do believe, but I think those three will just edge above the rest, above the bottom three, just because of the fact they've got a bit of sort of the Premier League proven stuff with Huddersfield, and Watford and Brighton all having a decent-ish sort of striker, a big man to go to. So I do feel like that will be that'll be where they find solace and find a bit of form this season. But those three I think will just have a narrow escape. Let's complete off the bottom half of the table now. We've got Bournemouth in 14th, Wolves, New Boys in 13th, Palace in 12th and Burnley in 11th. Now Bournemouth in 14th, I do feel like they are again going to stay up. Another sort of mediocre season. I think they finished 12th last season, so it's interesting. But I do feel like Bournemouth in 14th is a solid bet because they haven't really done too much. They've signed a good player in David Brooks, but I do feel like they've lacked in a couple of signings. They've signed a good player as well in Lerma, but again they've lacked. So I think Bournemouth in 14th, just a solid sort of season for them, not doing too much in any sort of direction going forward or backwards in the league. So them for 14th. Wolves, New Boys 13th, they could do a lot better, they could also do a lot worse. I say that because they've signed a lot of good players that could potentially really set the Premier League alight with form, but also a lot of new players, and we've seen it with QPR, we've seen it in many other teams. If you sign almost a whole new team all in the starting 11, sometimes they can struggle to gel, but I think Wolves have got such a strong team that it will push them up towards 13th and they'll have a good season there. Palace in 11th, or Palace in 12th and Burnley in 11th. Again, I think Palace have improved. I think Zaha will help, Benteke getting back to form might help, and Burnley in 11th might struggle a bit if they get through to the Europa League group stages, so I think a couple of positions down, but nothing too disheartening for the Burnley fans. So what about the next four teams, 10th to 7th? I've got 10th being Fulham, the last of the New Boys, 9th being Leicester City, 8th being Everton, and 7th being West Ham. Now a couple of shocks in there. Fulham in 10th is a risk, is a very big risk, but they've signed in good areas, and again with Wolves, potentially they've got a bit of a problem with signing so many new players, but they've signed in the right areas as Wolves. And one thing with Fulham, I think they've got a Premier League proven goal scorer. Mitrovic hasn't really been given a chance since his first season, but I feel like he'll score at least 10, maybe even 15 goals this season and really push Fulham up the table, as I have a bit of a yawn hiccupy thing. 9th Leicester City, they've kept Maguire, they have sold Mahrez, but they've kept Vardy. They've signed good players in the midfield, 2 good players in midfield. They've signed a few good centre backs, probably I think 3 of them. So they've got very good options at the back, which is hallelujah, because it was about time Morgan and Hoof were put into retirement, and I do think they will do this season if they're both still there. Hopefully they've got rid of them because they're not going to get any game time. They'll have 5th and 6th choice, but Leicester City made some good signings, and I do think they've been not improved in the Mahrez situation. They've signed Gazal, but they've definitely added in areas they needed it. Everton in 8th, they've made finally good signings, left it to like the last 10 minutes for them to get the deal sheets proposed, but Yerry Mina, Gomez and Bernard coming in, 3 good signings, and I think Everton might have a sort of a shaky start or a shaky end, but all in all finish 8th. And West Ham in 7th, very good window for West Ham, signed in basically all the areas they needed to, barring you'd say centre back, but they've got decent players there nonetheless, and I think West Ham in 7th isn't far from it. It might be a few places down, but I do think West Ham in 7th just because of the fact they've signed a lot of good attacking players and good midfield players and good defensive players. So I do feel like, you know, Manuel Pellegrini could lead West Ham to a good season. So what about those Europa League spots? Manchester United and Spurs. Manchester United in 6th because it's gearing up. It's gearing up, and I've said it since he joined. It's gearing up for this sacking season of Mourinho. He could fool us all and win the Premier League, but he's become the miserable old git that he becomes towards the latter parts of the season at every club, so that's not good when it's happening now. So give it till December and he might have been sacked already, so I do feel like it's not going to be a good season for United. Spurs haven't signed anyone. Now they, you know, Poch does seem happy with that, but I worry. I really worry. And that's why they're in 5th, because they don't have any new faces, any new blood to bled in and to give a sort of a new breath of fresh air to the Spurs team. So Spurs, I think, are 5th for me. And finally we've got the top 4. We've got Liverpool in 4th, Arsenal in 3rd, Man City in 2nd and Chelsea in 1st. Now I'll explain all these. Liverpool in 4th, they finished 4th last season. I think they'll finish 4th again. They've made some good signings and some good movement in the transfer window. A new goalkeeper, granted they needed, but all, not really too experienced, but hopefully there for another 10 years with Alisson. My alarm went off. With Alisson, they have got good signings everywhere else. You've got Keita, you've got Fabinho, you've got Shaqiri, just so they don't feel like they've always got to play their front three. And they've got rid of a few players as well. I do see Liverpool as a bit of a threat for the title potentially, but I think in the end their lack of sort of defending will make them suffer down in 4th. Arsenal in 3rd is an interesting one. I don't think many people will be putting Arsenal up there, but I do feel like Arsenal are going to have a good season. They've signed everywhere and they've made their signings quick and easy, and deadline day came and it was a breath of fresh air for Arsenal fans because they weren't doing any business, but they didn't need to. They've signed everywhere else and potentially could have done with a couple of players, but all in all a good window for them. So I think Arsenal will finish 3rd, Man City in 2nd and Chelsea in 1st, because I always feel like Chelsea's first season will go well, and Sarri, I think, given the time, will blend in the new players and give Chelsea a good finish. Man City though will give it a good race. I think it'll be a close title race this season, but Chelsea just pipping it. If Hazard can get firing, he'll win games by himself. And I think once teams learn how to play against Man City, they won't get as many wins as last season, so it'll be a tougher round for them. And that happens to be that for this video. Hope you've enjoyed. Remember to like, comment and subscribe and let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think of my Premier League predictions and what are your Premier League predictions? And let me know, have I got it right or wrong? Because it always divides opinion this. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.